Coming up on Network Africa, a severe storm in South Africa's Cape Town leaves 5 people dead. Lesotho's Prime Minister Pakalita Mosisili's party loses snap election. And Mauritania becomes the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to cut ties with Qatar. Welcome to the program, Joke Rogers. We begin today in South Africa, where 5 people have been killed by a storm in Cape Town. Schools and universities have been shut, roofs were blown off, and shelters have been opened for those left destitute. The storm, dubbed the South African media as the mother of all storms, comes as the end of the region's worst drought in a century. Before the storm, there had been several interfaith prayer group meetings praying for rain. Let's get more on the story from Lebogang Chaka, the chairperson of the Thabo Mbeki Institute Alumni Forum, who joins us live from South Africa. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
What more can you tell us about the storm ravaging Cape Town?
The storm that's raging in Cape Town, it's left a lot of people homeless. It's really affected. It's estimated about 700 structures in Hout Bay have been affected. And, it's quite a big disaster. And, community halls and churches have been made available for residents that need relief. And we've seen some roofs being blown off, trees being uprooted. It's quite a disaster.
We understand at least 5 people were killed by the storm. Were there no precautionary measures put in place even before it arrived?
So at about 2 o'clock, they were estimating 8 people have died. So the numbers have risen. But, Cape Town does have a disaster risk management center that's managed because of the region and the volatility of the region. They had fires before and they have been able to contain them. So the Disaster Risk Management Center is the one that it really prepares disaster risk management plans. It has a team that has contingency plans that are able to assist communities. And we have seen the representative, for instance, of the Disaster Risk Management Center, Charlotte Powell, giving us feedback as to what are they doing during this time. So they are visible, they are on the ground, and I do believe that the city did really have a plan because they do have a department that's dedicated to this kind of services. But they did mention that this disaster has really stretched the capacity.
How long is the storm expected to last? And, how are people who've been displaced because of it going to cope during this period?
Excuse me? I couldn't get you on that one.
I said, how long is the storm expected to last? And the people who have been displaced already, how are they going to cope at this time?
The storm right now, it's still raging and heavy and so forth. So what happened is they've issued out warnings about that and so forth. But the people that have been displaced, they have been, directed to community halls and churches, and there's relief that is being made available for these residents, that have been affected. And our emergency services are out there clearing the roadways and blocking drains to make sure that people can get to those relief areas as well.
It's bittersweet, I must say, for people. How are they reacting to this after having just faced a severe drought? It's a bittersweet moment, a period, I guess.
People like every country, when you go to a drought, there's calls for, there's water restrictions and so forth. There's as Africans we gather, we pray for rain, there's train prayers and so forth. And I think, in the midst of this tragedy, also, people are reacting and, they are grateful, but they're also mourning the deaths of their fellow citizens. So it's a bittersweet kind of event, So, yeah.
Thank you for your thoughts on that, Chairperson of the Thabo Mbeki Institute Alumni Forum, Lebohang Chaka, speaking to us from South Africa. Let's move on now. Lesotho's Prime Minister Pakalitha Mosisili's Democratic Congress Party has lost the snap election to former Prime Minister Thomas Thabani's ABC party. The Independent Election Commission says Mr. Thabani's party won 48 of the 80 directly contested seats at the 120-strong parliament. Mr. Mosisili's Democratic Congress came second with 30 seats. The ABC now needs to form a coalition in order to govern. This is the third election in 3 years caused by a bitter power struggle. Lesotho has experienced several coups since independence from Britain in 1966. There was also no winner with a clear majority in the last election. Mauritania has become the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to cut ties with Qatar over allegations that it supports terrorists. The decision by Mauritania, a member of the Arab League, comes after Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Maldives and Libya's eastern-based government cut ties with Qatar, accusing it of supporting Iran and militant Islamists. Qatar has strongly denied the allegation. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has called the King of Saudi Arabia to urge Gulf unity amid an escalating dispute over Qatar's alleged support